The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk. We are live to tape. It is October 10th, 2022. We're on episode 545. And today, Peng Pals. And my name is Gonz, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, a.k.a. the Cabana Boy, live from California, here to serve you a podcast that brings you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And we tried, folks. We tried to get Basil piped through here, but it just was not happening. The location where he is currently physically residing has time warp issues with internet connection. And, you know, I think it's its own conspiracy against Basil, wherever he is in the world, when he tries to connect via this amazing communication technology called the World Wide Web that connects us all. Well, apparently not for Basil. It doesn't really work for him for some reason, but it's okay. You know, I got the ability, hopefully, to do this solo once again, holding down the fort. So if you're a first-time listener, thank you for being here, and apologies for me ranting the whole time instead of having a little bit more of a dialogue. Today's immersion phenomenon in that regard is loneliness. I am very lonely doing this all by myself, but I know everyone's out there listening, tuning in. I appreciate you all, and we appreciate you. You know, Basil appreciates you because, it's tough. He was very frustrated that he couldn't get the internet working properly. So it is what it is. But, just some encouragement from the word here to kick things off. Deuteronomy 31:6, be strong and courageous. Do not fear or be in dread of them. Yeah, them. For it is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will not leave you or forsake you. So I'm convinced, the Holy Spirit is with Basil, and for whatever reason, doesn't want Basil to connect on this episode. So there you go. Pray for him, and I think he's feeling better and all that stuff. So there you go. All right, let's do a quick rundown to cover what we're going to talk about on this show.
Oh, look, here's Basil.
Let me bring you up to speed.
Yeah, well, almost. Not quite Basil, but first up, we got American tourists who are smashing sculptures at the Vatican. Is this destroying high places or vandalism, or what is this? What's going on? And then we'll do a flippy update, of course. Pharmacies and robots, they're match made in heaven, especially post-pandemic here. And then we will get into some purchases the United States has made in the advent of the next PSYOP, worldwide PSYOP. Then we will go into, still part of that PSYOP, I think, a sort of, I don't even know how to describe this, the micronations that are forming all over the world. And then, of course, we'll touch on PayPal and how they made the headlines and made quite the ruckus over the weekend with their claims about disinformation, what they would do to accounts who share misinformation and disinformation. But they pulled back on that. We'll cover that, as well as a little bit from what Biden says is going to slow down inflation. And, of course, we'll touch on the metaverse in that regard, because it's all connected, folks, the government and the metaverse. It's one big thing. And then we will talk a little bit about COVID, but also not so much COVID directly, more of the effects of a post-COVID world, as it were. And then transhumanism just keeps pumping out info or articles or whatever in the mainstream as things become normalized in this conversation. And there's actually a couple articles to tackle on that. And then we will touch on Antarctica at the end, because it's fun, especially when the person in question here is a bird chaser. Yeah, we'll get to that at the end of the show. All right, to kick things off at the top here, we're going to talk a little bit about what is going on over at the Vatican.
Build back better. Build back better. Build back better. We will build Babylon better. This time, a new world order.
Can't build back unless something breaks down. And that's what CNN is reporting here. Headline: American tourist smashes 2 sculptures in the Vatican. All right. So, in the Bible it talks about destroying high places, and, that there's something to that in, ruining the temples and ritual spots of those who are against God. But I don't know if that's what this is. We'll have to see. Either way, it doesn't matter. It helps the rebuild process, the build back better process. Here's what the article says. Just when you thought the summer of tourists behaving badly was over, I guess it was a problem all year, another person on vacation wrecks another priceless artifact. This time, it's the turn of an American tourist who smashed no fewer than 2 ancient Roman sculptures into pieces at the Vatican on Wednesday. Let's see. Hang on one second here. The episode took place in the Museo Chiamonti, part of the Vatican Museum, around lunchtime. The space holds around 1,000 works of ancient statuary and describes itself as, quote, one of the finest collections of Roman portraits in the world. 2 of these portraits are now facing an uncertain future after the tourist knocked over one in anger and toppled another as he fled the scene. Oh, why was he so angry? What happened? The man had demanded to see the Pope. Oh, he wanted to see the Pope.
Space Pope reptilian.
According to newspaper Tu Messaggero, when he was told he couldn't, he allegedly hurled one Roman bust to the floor. Yeah, I'm wondering if this is like, they say American here, but is he like a super soldier or something? I mean, those things are pretty hefty, aren't they? As he ran off with staff in pursuit, he knocked down another. The works of art have been taken into the in-house workshop to be assessed. While around 2,000 years old, they are thought to be secondary works of art rather than famous works, a source told Second Messaggero. Okay, so, all right, well, at least it's not like the top of the line stuff, but it does make you wonder, like, what were these of specifically? And yeah, I already see in the chat here, Sir Sigurd the Beast, please let it be Nero's bust. Could have been, that would make sense. Well, it'd be bad if they, if they unleashed the black goo and it like came back together and then, Antichrist. But I don't know if that's what's taking place here. And it goes into a little bit more of the detail of what happened here. Let's see. Quote, the two busts have been damaged, but not particularly badly. One lost part of a nose and an ear. The head of the other came off the pedestal. He said the restoration work had already begun and that, quote, they will soon be restored and back at the museum. Mountain Butarok, who leads pilgrimages to the Vatican and who often visits the Museo Chiaramonti, said, quote, one of the beautiful things is that it allows the visitors to get literally face to face with these ancient sculptures. My fear is that with behavior like this, barriers could be put in place. Yeah, everything's got to be behind a glass wall now. Tourists damaging monuments has been a theme of the summer, or of this summer in Rome. In July, a Canadian tourist was caught carving her name into the Colosseum. Hooligan. While American tourists were caught hurling scooters down the Spanish steps. Good old Americans doing their thing. Hurling down scooters. Oh boy. Breaking off pieces in the process. And a Saudi visitor drove his Maserati down the same architectural icon. And the Saudis are doing it. They're doing it right, man. You drive that Maserati. What were the Americans doing with scooters? Anyway, I just thought it was an interesting kind of fun story to get everybody hooked in here because, it's kind of a jokey thing, but at the same time, I think they welcome some kind of teardown. It doesn't matter for what purpose, whether it be statues in America because, hey, we owned slaves. We must, we need to fix the glorifying of the slave owners and stuff. Or just a mad American at the Vatican who demanded to see the Pope. And then when he was told he couldn't, he just went on a rampage and started to knock over statues. Whatever the case may be, you need that tear down in order to do the reset. So, I'm not surprised at this, and I'm sure they welcome it at some level. And, with the restorative technologies they have now, I'm just wondering what artifacts may come into play more and more as, they start to uncover things that are ancient in both genetics, as we've often heard, from the Antarctica stuff, like the million years of DNA from a million years ago, finally unleashed because of technology and our ability to examine and do science and all those things. It'll all tie in together in the end. But there you go. That's just a little quick one at the top. American tourist smashes two sculptures at the Vatican. And I don't think he's in that much trouble, but maybe. Who knows? All right. Well, let's just keep the show moving today because it definitely is a Monday.
Gary, what day is it? Monday.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Gary, what day is it? Monday.
Yeah, it's Monday. So, of course, internet doesn't work for the co-host. And here I am, all by myself, podcasting for all of you because, there's a duty here to continue reporting, continue being that watchman on the wall. And speaking of being a watchman on the wall, I'm going to take this opportunity, especially because Basil's not here for my little personal thing here. to talk a little sports ball.
I'm watching the sports. Sports did good.
Ooh, did the ball go?
The ball goes. And trust me when I say this connects to the grandeur, narratives about the Nephilim and the end times and all that kind of stuff. But there is a phenomenon right now where in the NBA, National Basketball Association, there is an 18-year-old Frenchman. His name is Victor Wembanyama, and he is 7'4". I think some even say 7'5". And I guess he was in Las Vegas over the last week or so, and they played a few games. And the footage, I'm just going to play a little bit of the footage just for people watching up here. But so this guy's 7'4", and he moves like he's a guard, which is a smaller player that can shoot and move around. And I mean, he's one of these guys that looks like when you play video games, you can create a player. That's what he looks like. He's thin, he's quick, he can dribble the ball, he can shoot the ball. He's like an alien. It's crazy. It's crazy to watch. An 18-year-old kid, and everyone's saying that he's like the greatest prospect in basketball since LeBron James. So 20 years, they haven't had a guy, I guess, come up in the ranks as a prospect as this guy. And I mean, it's some of the stuff he does is ridiculous. I mean, the dunks, the 3-pointers, that's the big thing. Guys that big usually can't shoot, but he's doing like step backs and turnarounds and fadeaways. And I mean, he looks like Jordan and Kobe. It's ridiculous. He's 18. Now, here's the connection to all this. Now, of course, doesn't mean he's a Nephilim just because he's 7'4". It makes you question some things, but also it doesn't mean he's a Nephilim. But his name is Wen, W-E-N, Ban, B-A-N, Yama, Y-A-M-A. Now, of course, your normal folks might not think anything of it, but my brain's a little wacky. I got something going on up there. So here's what my brain did. Okay, so the Watchers, right? The Watchers came down on Mount Hermon, right? And Jesus was his transfiguration took place probably on the same mountain, a couple thousand years later. And so I find it interesting that his name is Wembanyama. Wen, like W-E-N. You know how everybody nowadays they don't spell Wen correctly; they spell it W-E-N. So Wen, ban, like getting banned. So Wen ban, Yama, which means mountain in Japan. So when the Watchers get banned from the mountain, what do? They create 7'4" Michael Jordan to play in the end. Look at the 3-pointer. He shot it from the hash mark. No problem. This guy's insane. Anyway, it'll be fun to, who knows? Good luck to the kid or whatever. But, I'm trying to get Basil on the sports ball train, and maybe he can be the number one robot analyst and Victor Wembanyama fan, just to sort of keep track of a guy. I mean, he's 18 years old and he's just, who knows? You never know with these kind of guys with injuries or whatever, but it's kind of just fun for the show, fun for just me. I like watching basketball as a sort of a hobby pastime type deal. All the woke stuff and everything was very disappointing a couple of years ago. But that's permeated every sport, of course, because, especially with basketball, because of its ties to China, which I don't want to get into here. But anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there. Go check out some highlights of Victor Wembanyama. He looks like a video game. It's ridiculous. He's 7'4". He can dribble. He can shoot. He can dunk. He can block. He's got skill that you just don't normally see from an 18-year-old kid. So there you go. Just some sports ball on the side. And, of course, those of you watching, I have sort of transparent Basil over here with his sleepy eyes. His googly eyes are not there. They've fallen asleep. But, at least we do have his soundboard just so we get a little Basil.
Gotta get that hype, bro.
Always got to get that hype.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it'll remain interesting.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. Okay, so there you go. This podcast could not happen without you. We are completely supported by you, the producer. We call you producers because that's what you are. You produce the show. If you support the show with your time, talent, or treasure, you are producing the show. And so we rightfully call you producers. And you can claim it. You can claim it on your social medias, your LinkedIn profiles, your CVs, your resumes. You can put down that you are a producer of Canary Cry News Talk. You can write down what number or how long. And we'll vouch for you if somebody comes a knocking for a job and they want to know, like, hey, has this person really produced the show for, hundreds of episodes? And we can say, yes, of course. So there you go. This is a team effort. And especially in this current climate of censorship happening all over the place, both financially and through platforms. It's really because of the people out there like you listening right now that make this all possible. And, I was having a conversation with a good friend, and he and I were talking about the censorship and the lockdown and everything that's going to take place back in I think we started the conversation in like 2015 or 16. And he's just a good friend. And one of the things that he had suggested was when this lockdown, when they really start to crunch down on the content creators, and at the time he was saying, if you guys, as in people like us and others, don't band together, you're going to get wiped out. And sure enough, we didn't really band together. Everybody tried to build their own platform, and there's some good in that. There's a good in that decentralization process. But really, as a whole, the controllers have done a magnificent job in dispersing us, because they sounded the alarm. They didn't even have to lock down everybody. As soon as they did Alex Jones, it was like, oh no, everybody in alt media. But then it was very systematic who gets shut down and why and all this kind of stuff. And then other people were allowed to be put on a pedestal and rise up the ranks with, their popularity, and a whole new medium. The alt media was sort of created or revamped. It was always kind of there, but almost corporatized in a sense. And so we've seen that happen. And there was no consensus amongst those fighting against the lockdown of places like YouTube and Twitter. There just wasn't. I mean, there were people trying to rally together and, hey, let's all go to BitChute. Let's all go to Odyssey. Let's all go to Rumble. Let's all go to Rockfin. But look how distributed it is now. Everybody's just wherever, and some people, unfortunately, some people that I used to follow all the time, are more difficult to follow because they're just harder to find. They're not on YouTube, and I get that. So the battle continues, and our ability to reach an audience is severely hampered by those people who don't want us sharing freely our thoughts and opinions and ideas about what might be going on in the world. So if you're here, you're listening, you're checking out the show, we truly appreciate you because you're one of the few that not only have stuck with us, but also especially those who are producers who truly believe in what we're doing and want to continue supporting us. So thank you very much. Let me thank some executive producers of the show, or people who come in with more than $100 per episode. And so here we go.
Executive producers.
And we have no executive producers today. So I think that's 3 episodes in a row. It's starting to become a trend. That's okay. I know it's a tough time right now. October, you got to start saving up for Christmas, especially this year. Everything's more expensive, so definitely understand. But yeah, we operate on that value for value. So as long as you feel that there's value being provided here, please consider giving value back, because that's how this operates. We've created this different way to do things. But because of that, because there are no executive producers, we're just going to go on with the show because, that's the one thing I get to have when I'm solo. I can just kind of move along, I can just keep it going. So here we go. Let's just jump into the Flippy update. Oh, it's not too late to support the show. All you got to do is go to canarycryradio.com/support.
Canary Cry Radio.
Harvard.com/support.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Yeah, it's time for the Flippy update. Flippy is the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy to discuss how the robots are taking over everything and how there's nothing we can do about it until Jesus returns. And today, we have an article from theglobalcoverage.com. And the headline, robots working in pharmacies will prepare prescription drugs for customers. And, you know, I've gone to the pharmacies sometimes. You know, you go there, you stand in line, you sit there, you wait, and they tell you, all right, your order will be ready in 2 hours. And you kind of go, what? Why 2 hours? Don't you have to just put it in a bag? Like, yeah, but you know, there's a line. So maybe this is a good thing. Maybe all those folks who need those drugs will get them quicker because the Flippy arm is organizing in the back room now. Here's what it says. The American pharmacy chain Walgreens has decided to use robots to prepare the prescribed medications for customers. In this way, he wants to relieve busy pharmacists and save money at the same time. Until recently, no one would have thought that robots would do anything other than work in factories. Not if you're listening to our show. Duh. Sorry. Shouldn't say duh. That's not nice. Meanwhile, technology continues to evolve and advanced machines are developed that can perform more and more duties. Admittedly, they do not always succeed, as is the case, a robot from Zabka trying to prepare a hot dog for a customer. However, they are getting better and better at it. Why don't they mention Flippy here? Admittedly, they don't always succeed. Flippy succeeded, and I thought there was a hot dog robot that we've reported on or two. The American pharmacy chain Walgreens decided to use robots to fulfill prescription provided by customers. The company uses a robotic arm that prepares the client's medication written on the prescription by the doctor. Workers fill the machine with pill containers, and where the machine takes a certain amount of pills, then puts them in the package and sends them to the pharmacy. Drug vials travel on a conveyor belt where barcode scanners read barcodes. Oh, is that what they do? And then medications are taken from them. Subsequently, documents are printed and associated with the appropriate prescriptions. Each order is packed and placed in a special bag and then delivered to a specific pharmacy. Walgreens says that the use of robots will ease the burden on busy pharmacists. Man, they're so busy. This will reduce their workload by as much as 25% and at the same time save the company about $1 billion a year. Obviously, the robot will not be able to fill all prescriptions. Obviously, pharmacists will continue to sell controlled drugs as well as prescriptions that require signature and approval. The company believes that by 2025, about half of the prescriptions in its pharmacies will be filled in this way. Thanks to this, pharmacists will be able to focus on more direct interaction with patients and providing them with appropriate help. The testing ground for the new technology is a robotic plant. A robotic plant belonging to the network in Dallas, Texas. Uh-oh, Texans, better pay attention. I know there's a lot of people from Texas who listen to the show or watch the show. So, yeah, go find that robotic plant. Is it wield a machete as well? Every day it carries out 35,000 prescriptions for 500 pharmacies. But it is possible to prepare as many as 100,000 in this way. Prescriptions per day. Who wrote this? There's like weird grammar going on. The machine's tray can dispense approximately 900 different medications. So there you go. Another job that it was always inconvenient for the patient or the customer. And it was always a rough, annoying part of the job for the pharmacists. But now, hey, thank you, Flippy. We can speed things up. The pharmacists can focus on better things. And the fact that they said, they're going to be able to save, $1 billion a year? That's got to be in salary, right? Because people are the ones doing the pill putting in containers and bags and stuff, right? So that's jobs, $1 billion saved in actual salary, I would imagine. So, yeah, I mean, I know these pharmacists are excited, but what about the entry level person who, that's how they get their first job at the behind the counter is, you pack the thing. Now you don't have that job anymore. What are you going to go do? Make super soldiers? Help with the takeover? I mean, really, it's just funnel all those people into the, creation of the end times army, because that's about the only thing going on around here. So there you go. No surprises. Robot arms in action, continuing to do things, continuing to take jobs, continuing to allegedly help make humanity more efficient. But we know the truth about that. We know where that's actually headed. To a new world order.
A new world order. A new world order. New world order.
And sticking to the theme of you need to blow stuff up. Stuff needs to fall apart before you can put it back together. We have this article here from Reuters. Reuters headline: U.S. buys radiation sickness drug as part of long-standing program. Sneaky way to put it. It's a long-standing program, but then why are they doing actions now? The U.S. government this week bought $290 million in supplies of a drug designed to treat blood cell injuries following radiological and nuclear emergencies as part of what it said were long-standing efforts to prepare for potential health impacts from threats to national security. A lot of words to say gene therapy for post-nuke. That's what it sounds like to me. I don't know if that's what it is technically. It says blood cell treatment, so not necessarily gene therapy. But the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services purchased the drug Nplate from Amgen Inc. When asked whether the purchase announced Tuesday was linked to tensions with Russia following its invasion of Ukraine, the HHS spokesperson said it was part of ongoing efforts to prepare for a wide range of threats, including chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and emerging infectious diseases. Wow. Okay. All right. So all part of the big thing, huh? With funds from the Project BioShield Act, a law passed in 2004, HHS supports development of diagnostics, vaccines, and treatments to respond to potential health impacts of such threats. When development is successful, HHS buys the product for national preparedness. Oh, they're just a bunch of preppers. They're doing the right thing. They're prepping. Concerns about potential use of nuclear weapons has risen after Russian President Vladimir blah, 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 blah. Yes, we know. But Putin's going to hit the button. He's losing his mind. He's crazy. He's losing the war. He's going to push that button. And, of course, Joe Biden said Thursday about Putin's nuclear war or nuclear weapon in Ukraine has brought the world closer to Armageddon. Right, Joe? Armageddon on the way?
Armageddon's on the way.
There it is. Radiation sickness occurs when a person's entire body is exposed to a high dose of penetrating radiation, reaching internal organs in a matter of seconds. Symptoms include impaired blood clotting, which can lead to uncontrolled and life-threatening bleeding. Amgen will maintain the supply in vendor-managed inventory, HHS says. Oh, good. Amgen just being the U.S. military-industrial complex supply holder. Yeah, good. Government can't afford to, buy more storage space, so might as well just pay them to do it for them. So, yeah, this story, of course, it does not bode well in terms of what they're planning to do to us. And, in my mind, I was thinking about this, and it was 2001, right? The Two Towers, everybody knows about what happened in New York. And that was sort of that impact event, right? There was an impact event. There were definitely health issues that followed. People that were there that breathed in all the stuff. And, there's a big after effect for people that were there helping and trying to save lives and everything else. And so it became a health emergency for those people that were there. And not just the people that suffered from the actual towers going down and the plane allegedly running into the buildings and everything else, but just the after effects of the people that survived. It was bad. So they have the impact event and then the health issue afterwards. But, such a small population, right? So they need to test out a wider sample set of, hey, we need more of a sample size of how this would work in terms of a health crisis. Of course, everybody knows what happened. 2020, not 20 years since 9/11. Everything locks down. Then the vaccine becomes an available thing, and it's a big health crisis worldwide. And so when you're talking about a nuke, excuse me, let me clear my throat. All right, when you're talking about a nuke, potential nuke, and, of course, there are conversations about are nukes even real and whatever. I'm pretty sure we have things that go boom real loud and real big that can kill people, to the degree that it is claimed with nuclear weapons. Some people have seen it. Some people have felt it, but I'm just saying, you never know. But we do have tools and things that go boom real loud and real big, and that can kill people. Again, how big, who knows? But in any case, I think the big goal here with this conversation is, because surface level, it's like, oh yeah, of course, we're just preparing. And that's been the trend. We see New York have these sort of PSA announcements about what to do when a nuclear attack might happen. And I think there were other countries, maybe Canada. I can't remember. We've reported on a couple different places around the world who are starting to see that propaganda. Like, oh, well, we must prepare. It's like the Cold War all over again. Oh, we need to go under a desk if we hear the sirens go off or whatever, even though that's not going to necessarily do anything. But in my opinion, just my opinion, whatever they're planning to do next must be, if we are to think like a lizard person, which I know we don't do to be the lizard person, we just do to understand the enemy. They would definitely want something that is a mixture of both, right? You have the event, the impact event, nuke, right? And then you have the health crisis afterward. Worldwide, though, not just regionally or anything else, just worldwide, something happens or everybody's got to lock down. Everyone's got to take the drugs. And, if you don't, then you're as good as having leprosy in the Old Testament. You're shunned. And so I when I hear stuff like this, it just tells me that, yeah, this is the long play, and I don't want that to happen. I don't want this to come true. Of course, I hope it doesn't. I hope they fail at this plan for, they're getting ready to blame Putin for the nuke and all that stuff. It's all very familiar to the, people that have been around for a while, but at some point they might try to pull it off. It was the same thing with the pandemic. It was like the bird flu, H1N1, and every single time it kind of petered out, right? It was like, oh, and then it peters out, and then peters out. And then COVID comes along, boom. They have all the information they need. They know the methodology. They can pull the trigger and really get to work on building back better. So, yeah, that's my only takeaway from this, is that it's part of the agenda. It's probably part of the long play, but it's also a way to continue to instigate fear and certain policy, certain power that, these politicians can have to maintain control over the masses. All that is still, of course, in play. So there you go. There's that story. And that leads us right into politics real quick, because part of it is the macro game, the macro politics, the macro geopolitics of, these people are trying to, take over, Russia's trying to take over the U.S. and Ukraine and blah, 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 blah. But there's also the small scale war.
Poly.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
Now suck your blood. Now suck
Politics.
Your blood.
This is an article from Insider.com. Of course, Insider.com being some kind of intelligence op, as it were. And the headline here, meet President Baugh, the B-A-U-G-H, I think, or Boff. I think it's Baugh. The self-proclaimed dictator of a micronation in Nevada you've probably never heard of. Now, I wish Basil was here because I get the feeling that he's heard of him for some reason. May even be related to him. No, I don't think it's related to President Baugh, but it's just one of those things that Basil would know of, the micronation dictator in Nevada. So let's find out a little bit about this guy. It all started in 1977 when a 15-year-old Kevin Baugh and his childhood friend James Spielman watched The Mouse That Roared, a satirical 1959 movie about a tiny fictional nation waging war on the U.S. Quote, I was struck by the imagination and creativity of that, said the 60-year-old, who asked to be referred to as, quote, Your Excellency or President Baugh during a phone interview with Insider. 4 decades on, he's lost contact with that friend, but the dream of ruling his own miniature country lives on. Baugh is now the self-proclaimed benevolent dictator of the Republic of Molossia, a 1-acre micronation with a population of 35. 35 on 1 acre? Wow, in the northwestern Nevadan desert. And there's a picture of this guy. We're looking truly diplomatic. He's got his aviators on. He's got a green suit, like a military-style suit. He's got his captain's hat with some kind of seal with the gold sun rising over it. I mean, it's the whole thing, folks. The micronation was born at a suburban house in Portland, Oregon in 1977. It was originally known as the Grand Republic of Vuldstein. Baugh appointed himself prime minister and Spielman was made king. It's the kind of stuff you do when you're kids, I will be prime minister and you shall be king. Baugh conceded that back then it was a little more than childish revere. Quote, it was more fictional, I guess you could say, he said. There was no internet back then, and so we made it up as we went along. Spielman eventually abandoned the project, but Baugh continued working on it sporadically while he served the U.S. Army. In the U.S. Army. He left the Army in the 1990s and settled in Nevada with his family. Around this time, he said he started taking the micronation more seriously. Quote, the internet came along, and I was able to see that other people had created their own countries, Baugh explained. Quote, so I took Molossia from just being on paper to having our own website. Woo! You hear that, folks? It's the first example of the physical world going digital. And you'll start hearing this word phygital a lot. I know it's an annoying word. It's physical and digital. Phygital. I'm guessing it's going to become more and more popular for people to say, although it's not a fun word to say. But this is an example of a man going phygital. Phygital. That's hard to say. Baugh continued researching micronations online, finding information on how he could fully realize one of his own. A micronation is a self-proclaimed independent state whose sovereignty is not recognized by the international community. For example, world governments and the UN do not recognize them as legitimate. I think we have a new goal here in the Canary verse. We talked about the Canary Cry metaverse, being the best podcast in the metaverse. But we got to do it backwards. We got to build on the metaverse, and then we will buy up land that will become our own sovereign community, and then the UN will not recognize us. But that's probably what they want anyway. They want that divide and conquer. They want the smart cities as hubs all over the world, almost like clusters of nodes where people are, doing work and all their data is being collected. And then the outskirts where everybody else sort of disperses and is doing their own thing. And then a war breaks out. So there you go. They're often small, the outgrowth of a single individual, and viewed as trivial enough to be ignored by the established nation their land sits within. The U.S. knows Molossia exists, Baugh said, but basically ignores it. But this is fantastic. This is what you want. You want to have your own sovereign area, but then be ignored by the world lizard people. He's doing something right. I don't know. He's onto something, folks. there are at least 67 separate micronations in the world. Only 67. What is that? We should have like billions. Baugh learned that micronations are usually formed by claiming the land they live on as their own territory. Now, that's tough. This is maybe why Bill Gates is buying up all that land, right? He wants Bill Nation, the Gates Nation. All right, Gates of Hell Nation. So in 1998, he bought a small plot in Nevada and claimed it as, quote, the homeland for our country, which was then called the Kingdom of Molossia. For a short period afterward, it was ruled as a communist dictatorship. Oh my gosh. Ooh, people in the chat. You got 0.32. I thought this guy had 32 acres of land. I was like, let's do this. 0.32 acres is maybe a little harder to do. I wonder if there's a minimum requirement of acres to create a micronation. Baugh said the communist iconography the micronation used riled up locals, so he decided to turn Molossia into a capitalist military dictatorship. The communist thing wasn't really popular, so we're just going to go capitalist military dictatorship. Kind of the same thing that the United States is, just a smaller version, just like a 1 acre version of the military industrial complex. Baugh is the self-proclaimed benevolent dictator of what is now called the Republic of Molossia. Quote, I mean, not the kind of dictator that makes people disappear in the night or anything like that, he said. Quote, we're a family nation. That would really irritate the family if someone just suddenly disappears. Oh my gosh, this is fantastic. This is both inspiring and ridiculous and comical all at the same time. I'm inspired by this man. I'm also kind of terrified at what it all means for the world. There are 35 citizens, all of whom are related to Baugh. This number, he said, also includes the family's 3 dogs. Oh, look at that. You get citizenship. The human citizens all have dual citizenship with the U.S. Quote, it helps to still have that U.S. citizenship, Baugh said. Yeah, when you go outside the 1 acre of land that you have. Quote, otherwise we wouldn't be able to go to Walmart or something like that, and we'd all starve to death. Oh, come on, Baugh. You can't get your own farm going, your own produce happening on that 1 acre? I don't know if I'm a fan of this guy. Get some chickens, get some rabbits, just pump them full of vitamin C, get some good out of them. Citizens vote in U.S. elections and pay U.S. taxes, which Baugh jokingly refers to as foreign aid. I like this guy. Baugh said Molossians have, quote, very positive relations with local communities over the border. They make regular, quote unquote, appearances in the nearby town of Dayton, Nevada, and participate in the annual Nevada Day Parade in Carson City. Which, by the way, Carson City, capital of Nevada, folks, not Las Vegas. Yeah, fun fact. Baugh said he has relative freedom to do what he wants in Molossia, but is always eager to avoid introducing laws that would contravene American law or otherwise aggravate U.S. authorities. Quote, I can pass whatever laws I want as long as I don't offend the bigger country around me because you don't want to make them mad, he said. Quote, you can have your own money, your own stamps, your own whatever, customs, holidays, things like that. So it's really fun. So that's what I'm saying, folks. This sounds like fun. This sounds like Canary Cry, the Canary verse was built for this, was built to be a micronation. In fact, I believe we are a distributed, decentralized micronation already. But most people aren't ready to hear that. Molossia has its own currency, time zone, and system of measurement. Oh my gosh. I don't know about system of measurement. I don't know. That can have problems outside of the country walls. Molossia has its own currency, the Valora, and usually it's pegged to the relative value of chocolate chip cookie dough. Quote, we like doing things a little differently here in our own country, Baugh said. Quote, we also have our own measurement system and time zone, stuff like that. The time zone is 39 minutes ahead of Pacific Standard Time and 21 minutes behind Mountain Standard Time. using the unique and nonsensical Kokens system, measurements-based lengths on the size of Baugh's hand and volume relative to the size of Diet Pepsi cans. See, this is what I was saying. No good. It's all based on the dictator's measurements. And, maybe that was okay a long time ago with some king, when civilization was still at that stage where things were being solidified. But I don't know. I don't know if you're happy about that if you're a citizen of Molossia, the Republic of Molossia, and you walk 10 feet that way and you got to convert the measurement. Imagine going to like a local Home Depot there and like, I need what's the measurement called? I just forgot already. Let's see. Unique nonsensical Kokens. Is that the Valora is the thing? Kokens. Okay. So is that the name of the system or is that the size of the... Anyway, all right, never mind. Forget the example. Molossia also has a navy despite being landlocked. Quote, our entire navy is composed of inflatable kayaks, Baugh said, adding that there are often training exercises at Lake Tahoe. Man, this guy seems like he's just living life. Oh, man. Baugh said the country is currently at war with East Germany, which ceased to exist in 1990 and was once in battle with another micronation, Mustachistan. Quote, a micronational war is just somebody spamming your email inbox or something like that, he explained. He says that a lot. Something like that. Every quote, he's like, yeah, it's like this or it's just something like that, Yeah, we got our own measuring system, yeah, something like that. Or we got our own stamps, something like that. Oh my gosh, this is great. Why is this even being written? The economy is tourism based. Approximately 200 people visited Molossia a year. 200, that's pretty good. Tourists get their passports stamped upon arrival and are free to explore the sights of the tiny country. Quote, it takes about an hour and a half to see literally every sight, he said. And there's a photo here of some booths, wooden booths. There's some one that says customs, little wooden, looks like an old outhouse, to be honest. And then there's like a bulletin board, a bench. There's the flag. This is a real deal, folks. Baugh leads the tours himself, but also works a full-time job. He declined to comment on his profession because it would take the quote-unquote sense of humor out of things. Baugh conceded that running Molossia is a bit of fun and a chuckle, but said that at its core, it is a serious exploration of what constitutes a nation and what a world of micronations would look like. Quote, we're dependent on the U.S. for almost everything economically, food and clothes and all that kind of stuff you would normally buy, Baugh said. Quote, but within those limits, we take our nation pretty seriously. At the same time, we have a good time with it. So there you go. That's the article. I like this. I like the idea. I like that this guy's just doing it and, has his family involved. And, the children can say, hey, where'd you grow up? The Republic of Molossia. Oh, where's that? Never heard of it. Of course, because it is my father's nation. I mean, are they going to do like arranged marriages too? Like, between micronations? But so the other thing to talk about here, we bring it up fairly often, is the speech, and I constantly forget who it was made by. General Chat. Who is it? The general that spoke at the recent speech at... And we reference it multiple times, and I always forget. Anyway. Yeah, there's too many names to remember. Milley, thank you, Chat. General Milley. I knew you would come through, Chat. Yeah, General Milley speaking, 6 months ago when he was talking to the graduates at... I forget the place, too. Oh, boy. Yeah, anyway, some military school, one of the big ones. And he was talking about urban warfare and how, people will be, warfare will just take place anywhere and everywhere all at the same time. Well, that kind of speaks to this micronation thing. West Point, thank you, chat. The West Point speech by General Milley that took place earlier I think it was this year. It feels like it was this year. Maybe it was last year. But any case, in that speech, General Milley talked about how that warfare would change, that we need to be in smaller groups, and we're going to have to, there's going to be some different tactics and all that kind of stuff, AI and everything else. And to effectively fight in that type of environment, it makes a lot of sense to create micronations because, in the sense of what we have now and what this guy says here, Baugh, it's like, we rely a lot on the U.S. government for a lot of things. And, the U.S. government, the federal government especially, where it was meant to help organize and distribute certain things around the country and do it, serve the people of the nation, not be served, right? But now that's all completely flipped. We're all here to serve the politicians and the federal government. And so the reversing of that is interesting because on one hand, it sort of appeals to the core ideologies of what made the United States, this idea of sovereignty, freedom, all those buzzwords that we were taught, especially like patriarchy, that, I was fed a lot of that in elementary school, the learning about the Pilgrims and the early settlers and everything else, the Boston Tea Party, all that stuff. And it's taking that ideology and not staying unified as a nation, but actually, no. We're each going to fight on our own, sort of a libertarian type of attitude. And again, there's some things that are appealing about that, but in the larger context of social engineering, it might be the exact thing that the controllers would want in order to create or cause the destruction of the United States, which is typically, has been in history known as one of the more free nations, an armed citizenry, certain liberties that exist here that don't exist in other countries. Even something as basic as the word of God. There are a lot of countries that don't allow the word of God to be distributed or, even possessed. You can't even hold a Bible in certain countries or you get arrested. So there are things here that have been good, that have worked. But now to carry those ideologies forward, it's going to create this distribution, the decentralization of the United States ideals, not just in other countries, but more from within. And I see that as part of the play here. And maybe that's why it's being highlighted by Business Insider, as sort of a fun thing to do. And it appeals to, those people that are very much in tune with those ideologies, which again, kind of in a political vacuum, you can agree with a lot of those things. But when you take a step back and look at the greater agenda, the greater trajectory of what's happening, it could be a little bit troubling. So there you go. That's the story about the little dictator there. What was the headline of this article? President Baugh, the self-proclaimed dictator of a micronation in Nevada you've probably never heard of. Well, we've heard of him now. And do they take Bitcoin over there? This is the big story that was being talked about over the weekend. Yahoo.com. PayPal pulls back, says it won't fine customers $2,500 for misinformation after backlash. All right, so we got a lot of messages from people. My phone was exploding with people sharing the whole thing. Let's just get to the article here. PayPal has backtracked on a published policy that would have fined users $2,500 for spreading quote-unquote misinformation, claiming the update had gone out, quote unquote, in error. Oh, it was just a friendly error that they would include in the documentation that misinformation shall be fined. And, you just pull out $2,500 from your PayPal account. Quote, an AUP notice recently went out in error that included incorrect information. PayPal is not fining people for misinformation, and this language was never intended to be inserted in our policy. Our teams are working to correct our policy pages. We're sorry for the confusion this has caused, end quote. A spokesperson told National Review in a written statement. The course reversal comes after the policy changes had started to attract media scrutiny as well as criticism on Twitter. Former PayPal president David Marcus even blasted the company over the implications that it could seize customers' money or finding their views objectionable. Quote, it's hard for me to openly criticize a company I used to love and gave so much to, but PayPal's new AUP goes against everything I believe in, end quote. The cryptocurrency entrepreneur said Saturday, quote, a private company now gets to decide to take your money if you say something they disagree with. Insanity, end quote. Tech titan Elon Musk replied, agreed, in a comment that got thousands of likes. Wow, Elon just said, all he has to say is agreed, and he gets thousands of likes. The policy update appeared to authorize the company to pull a significant sum of money from the accounts of users who spread quote-unquote misinformation, among other newly listed offenses. The new conditions were scheduled to be added to the restricted activity section of the PayPal user agreement effective November 3rd, the Daily Wire first reported. Changes included prohibitions on, quote, the sending, posting, or publication of any messages, content, or materials that, quote, promote misinformation. While the prior policy already forbade hate, intolerance, and discrimination, the new one would have explicitly applied to specific protected groups and, quote, individuals or groups based on protected characteristics. Identities under this umbrella include race, religion, gender, or gender identity, and sexual orientation. The firm's current rulebook doesn't list these terms. It's unclear whether PayPal will also pull back these specific prohibitions on discriminatory language or if it is only scrubbing the misinformation clause. So, yeah, this is the fact. Look, the story right now is, they pulled it back because, the public didn't like it. But here's the thing. If the public didn't say anything, they would have gone through with it, number one. Number two, the fact that it's even in there to begin with. I don't care if it was a mistake. The fact that it's in there means that at some level, some drafting of the language, the verbiage in the document contained this idea, and for some reason it was left in there when they released it publicly. I mean, and it shouldn't surprise any of us, really, that those of us, especially if you're part of following the stuff we've been talking about and others like us. I mean, this was coming to PayPal. It was just a matter of time. And again, I think it's just a matter of time. PayPal's going to do this type of deal. They're going to pick and choose who gets to access their platform and who doesn't. And it's going to be based not on, legitimate reasons, more so the woke sort of playbook, progressive woke playbook that we've clearly seen is not working in terms of controlling society. So the pushback is there. But if you can choke them out, that's how you win. Or at least these controllers, that's how they win. They want to choke people out. They don't want people to have unrestricted access to monetary freedom or monetary markets, things of that nature. Very mark of the beast. Got to have the mark to buy or sell. This, all of it has to do with the economy. So a couple economic updates from, one here from our president.
Got hairy legs. Hairy. Got hairy legs. Hairy. Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs.
This is the New York Times, and the headline, Biden warns inflation will worsen if Republicans take Congress. That's right. It's those Darn Republicans that'll make inflation worse. Oh, man. President Biden laced into Republicans on Friday for trying to enact policies that would make, quote, every kitchen table cost go up, while lavishing tax cuts on big corporations, shedding his usual tone of bipartisanship a month ahead of the midterm elections. I don't even want to read the rest of this. The point is, is blame Republicans for inflation, right? It's not, it's not both aisles. It's not the Fed. It's not the central bankers. It's just Republicans. Darn Republicans. Ugly Republicans. Oh no, there's some spam going on in the chat. Hold on, I gotta get this person out of there. Block. You are blocked. Block. Why aren't you being blocked? Uh-oh. Did I completely mess it up? Sorry. Trying to get this yeah, we need to get another mod in there into the chat sometimes. There can be some interesting visitors. All right, continuing on here. So, yeah, Biden, inflation, Republicans will make it worse. But all Republicans have to do, or anybody has to do, especially at the Fed over there, is to turn on that money printer.
Money printer go boom.
And things will just be right back to normal. All right, I don't know what's going on with chat. I don't know if it's broken. Did I break chat? Did something happen? Okay, hold on. Let me double check here because are we still live? Are you guys still there? Still there. Okay. Salt to Paul, I see you. Okay, all right. I think we're still live. Maybe. Fun stuff. Okay, let's continue on here. So, along with all these changes, one of the big changes, we've been talking about it for years, but I think it's becoming more and more tangible.
Blockchain
is cryptocurrency. And we knew this was coming. CNBC.com headline, Treasury's financial stability watchdog warns cryptocurrencies could threaten safety of U.S. economy. Not money printing to oblivion. Not locking down the entire economy, world economy, and small businesses and just shutting everything down. That's not a threat to U.S. economy. But cryptocurrencies. You a crypto Chad? Are you a degen? Well, you're a threat to society. The Treasury Department warned Monday that unregulated cryptocurrencies could pose a risk to the U.S. financial system. Yeah, that's the point. It doesn't. The whole thing is that you don't need the U.S. financial system to operate. Is that being un-American? It depends who you ask, I guess. The warning was a part of the first major public report released by the Treasury's Financial Stability Oversight Council on digital assets. The council identified digital or crypto assets, such as stablecoins, as well as lending and borrowing on the industry's trading platform, as an important emerging vulnerability. Quote, the report concludes that crypto asset activities could pose risks to the stability of the U.S. financial system and emphasize the importance of appropriate regulation, including enforcement of existing laws. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said, quote, it is vital that government stakeholders collectively work to make progress on these recommendations. More or less saying, we're losing control. We need to figure out a way to maintain control. The council first designated digital assets a priority area in February. And it kind of goes on here. And yes, we know sort of the situation currently that Bitcoin is considered a commodity. Ethereum is also considered a commodity, although there's lots of interesting arguments on the other side of that. There seems to have been some hanky-panky to get Ethereum to be considered a commodity under the the watchful eye of the U.S. government. And, there's, I don't know. Some people might think there's a conflict of interest, but, what do I know? I know nothing. All I know is that I want to go to a party.
Party time.
Go to canarycry.party. It's a website with a tree of links that leads to everything from where to watch the show, listen to the show, produce the show, how to connect with us and the community.
Welcome to Canary Cry Party. It's the place you wanna be. So say, welcome to Canary Cry. Gameplay, canarycry.party.
You will see tons of links to all the ways you can watch us, listen to us, and other resources like the Face Like the Sun archive on Odyssey, the Face Like the Sun Resurrection channel, but also a podcast called Ravel. That's Basil's other podcast with Dr. Christopher Ryan Gates. They talk about society, scripture, and scandal. It's a good podcast to supplement what we're doing here and what we've done over at Canary Cry Radio and Face Like the Sun. It's a good podcast. Go check it out. Also, go to Canary Cry Clips. You can go to youtube.com/Canary Cry Clips and subscribe to the channel, because that is where our producers, our Clippy producers, clip the show into topics and publish it separately, so that you don't have to sit through all of the nonsense that we ramble on about on various topics. You can just zoom right into the topic that you're interested in. Especially helpful if you're trying to share the content with friends and family. You don't have to say, hey, go listen to this podcast at hour 37 and 42 seconds. They start talking about this. None of that. You can just go to Canary Cry Clips and look for the topic, and boom, you've got your videos that address the topics that you're looking for. So there you go. Canary Cry Clips on YouTube, and also Odyssey, because we got a strike on YouTube. Oh, YouTube. Fun YouTube. Also, you can be on the text message alert system. Just text Canary to 877-740-3226, and we shall text you right before the show goes live. Just as a reminder, we're not going to spam your phone or do anything like that, but we do want to make sure that you all can get a heads up, especially when something goes down and we disappear, which is just a matter of time again. The text message alert system is a good way for us to communicate with everybody and say, hey, we have been shut down, go here or go there or do something. So there you go. Appreciate all of you who are already on that list. Some 400, I think it's like 417 or something. Pretty good numbers. So hop on, text Canary to 877-740-3226 and get on that text alert system. And let's take a quick break.
It's break time! Come on, take a break.
All right, I want to take a quick break to thank our producers. Those are people that come in, especially with their treasure for this break here. We know that Canary Cry News Talk is a show that causes issues when it comes to the mainstream rails. And so it would not be possible to continue the show without your ongoing support. We really do appreciate it. And earlier on, we said there were no executive producers. Let me do a quick double check on that just to make sure. And, it's always kind of fun to have to go to use the platform that we just reported on as being the most totalitarian thing we've seen in a while when it comes to money. But let me go check it out here. Let's see. Oh, boy, really could use a co-host right about now to go check out some other things. But, yeah, let's see if there was an executive producer who came in between the top of the show and now. And drum roll, there has... Yes, we have executive producers. Woo! All right, this is awesome. Okay, we're going to do it.
Executive producers.
Yeah, so executive producers are producers who come in with $100 or more. And let's thank them here real quick, because they weren't around at the top there, but they are now. And I'm trying to see if there's a some of these might have different names or dame names or knight names. Okay, first up, Christine S., Thank you so much, Christine S. She comes in with, let's see, what is this? 198.71? Or no, I'm sorry, 205.34. Okay, 205.34. Thank you very much, Christine S. We appreciate you. You are one of two of our executive producers today. Oh, this is so awesome. We appreciate you.
Where'd you find this?
And a quick, simple note that says, thank you. Well, thank you, Christine S. We really appreciate it. Thank you for coming in with your very generous gift there. And broke the streak. We broke the no executive produce streak. Hallelujah. All right. So thank you very much, Christine S. Did I say that wrong? Christine S. Sorry, Christine S. Sorry, I said Christine C. Christine S. is one of our executive producers for today. We have another one, though. And that is Christopher. Oh, no, it's Sir Sigra the Beast. Thank you, Sir Sigra the Beast, coming in with a nice round number, I think. No, he comes in right under a round number. Well, see, I don't know what the number that Basil always reads because there's like extra stuff, you know. So it's either $99.11 or $102.67. Either way, thank you very much, Sir Sigra the Beast.
Where'd you find this?
This is fantastic. We just actually got the amount is specific to the micronation of what was it called? Molossia, yeah. Because the note here from Sir Sigurd the Beast, here's approximately 400 valora to produce the show. Price based on an ounce of chalk chip cookie dough costing 25 cents an ounce at my low. Oh no. Hold on. How come I can't get the rest of this note? It says my local groceries or something. Hold on. Is there a different spot where I can pull up the note? Now, this is fun. I like doing this on the fly. Live to tape, folks. Let me see here. No note there. No note there. I don't know, Sir Sigurd the Beast. The note gets cut off right there. I don't know if it's because of the input situation there, but either way, thank you so much, Sir Sigurd the Beast. Appreciate you, and man, that makes me feel a lot better. That, you know, not that everything is all about money on this show. It's just we haven't had an executive producer for a couple episodes. So Christine S. and Sir Sigurd the Beast, thank you very much. You are much appreciated. There are other producers to thank, so we'll do that now. Oh, wait. Here we go. Oh, yep, I think this is it. I asked Basil because, you know, he did have some internet, so I asked him to try to jump on and at least do the producer list. I don't know if this is fully updated. Again, if I totally mess it up, which I have a tendency to do, please just email us. You know, if I mess up a streak or just anything, just let us know and we'll make it right. All right, some producers to thank. Sir Morv, Knight of the Burning Chariots. Oops, wrong button. There you go. And he comes in with 1111. 11. Thank you very much, Sir Morv. I don't believe there's a note. He's on a 149 episode streak. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Maid Servant of Christ. Nice round number. Has a note. I am seeking to find believers who want to start a home fellowship. If you or someone you know might be interested, are in reasonable driving distance of 97267. I don't know what that means. Please contact me or help me get in touch with them. This is not a CC meetup. This is intended to be a gathering of the body of Christ under his headship, following the apostolic tradition of the early church. That's Shield Maiden for Christ. So there you go. If you'd like to do some not a Canary Cry meetup. And by the way, those Canary Cry meetups are also, we say it's a Canary Cry meetup, but of course they're ultimately under the headship of Christ. It's no different. Although, yeah, I understand that you don't want to necessarily always do that in under the banner of Canary Cry, not the name of Canary Cry, but just the banner. But yeah, if you want to be a part of this and you're in sort of the same area or in some distance, it's good to connect. So definitely contact Shield Maiden for Christ. I don't know if there is a direct way. We might leave a way to contact Shield Maiden for Christ on the show notes. So look for that if you are interested. All right. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. Next up, we have Sir Darren, Knight of the Hungry Pandas, coming in at 55 episodes in a row. I'm getting told the 97267 is the zip code. Oh, that's a long zip code. I thought zip codes only had... Oh, no, that's right. Yeah, 5. Okay, 5 numbers. All right, that's about right. Okay. I don't know. I thought I was still a citizen of the Republic of Molossia for a moment there. I forgot that there's outside the borders, there's 5-digit zip codes. But there you go. Sir Darren, Knight of the Hungry Pandas, 55 episodes in a row, comes in with a pocket full of 7s. I did not see a note. Apologies if there was one, Sir Darren, but thank you very much. Next up, we have Sir LX Protocol V2, Knight of the Berean Protocol, coming in with the pocket full of 7s on his 86th episode in a row.
Yeah! Oh, yeah! Man, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I am wondering if that is it. There was no note from Sir LX Protocol V2, Knight of the Berean Protocol. But that's okay. We will continue. There are others who came in under the $7.77 barrier, which gives you an opportunity to write a note to us and gives us an opportunity to read a note from you. Those who came in underneath, Sir Scott, Knight of Truth, on a 205 episode streak.
Oh yeah, streakalicious.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, Veronica D, on what I believe a 181 episodes in a row.
Women rule.
You know what? Technically, the Streak Sisters are at a different street jingle. Yeah, Streak Sisters. Different jingle now.
Women rule.
That's right. Veronica D, 181 episodes in a row. And also Dame Gale, Canary, Whisper, and Lady of the X's and O's, also coming in 181 episodes in a row.
Women rule.
There you go. Also, we see Runk Smash coming in. Thank you, Runk Smash. And Runk Smash, I can't tell if you're either on a 33 episode streak. I think the last episode was 33, right? Runk Smash? I don't know if he's in the chat. But if not, 34 episodes in a row. Thank you, Runk Smash. And last but not least, Sir Casey Knight. Sir Casey, the Shield Knight, coming in, and he is the ultimate streak setter at 216 episodes in a row.
Oh yeah, streakalicious.
Yep, he is streakalicious for sure. I think that does it. Again, if I missed you, I'm sorry. I will make up for it, hopefully on Wednesday with my partner in crime here on the podcast. All right. Is there anything else I need to mention before we go back? I think we're good. All right. Let's talk a little bit about COVID.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
It's Corona time. COVID-19. 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 COVID-19.
COVID-19.
COVID-19. COVID-19.
COVID-19.
Coronavirus!
Vaccine. Vaccine, number one way.
Number one way. All right. Well, we have this story here from the Wall Street Journal. And we'll go through this real quick because I think it's interesting when it comes to the aftermath of the COVID pandemic. Wall Street Journal headline, Why Dates and Times Seem to Lose Their Meaning. I don't know why. The dates on the calendar and the time on a clock are some of the most ubiquitous and easily understood numbers in our lives. And yet, over the past 2 years, many Americans have felt time blur. They lose track of the day or hour, think more or less time has elapsed than actually has, and can't place exactly when a traumatic event actually happened. Interesting. Can't place exactly when a traumatic event actually happened. I think that says a lot about the trauma-based mind control society that we're in now. It isn't your imagination. Psychology has a term for it. Temporal disintegration. When the present seems disconnected from the continuity of time, and it plays an important role in how we perceive and respond to trauma. Okay, all right. No, trauma-based mind control is just a conspiracy theory, folks. Quote, one of the most fundamental and important and underlying principles so critical to our ability to function is we have a sense of the flow of time, said Allison Holman, a professor of psychological science at the University of California, Irvine. Oh, hey, I went there. She's recently published research showing a majority of Americans likely experienced at least some temporal disintegration during the pandemic era. That finding, she said, could hamper recovery from the pandemic. Quote, when people have a really disrupted sense of time, they have a hard time moving on. Did she mean to do that? And have a hard time focusing on getting back into their lives and rebuilding their sense of future. Got to build back better, baby. That's why you need the government. That's why you need Klaus to come in to help build back better, the Great Reset. Don't you know, Holman? It's normal to be focused on the present to the exclusion of the past and future, but if you frequently don't know what day of the week it is or can't recall if something important in your life happened a day, a month, or a year ago, or feel like the past and future have disappeared, then a more serious time warp might be at work. And then there's a little survey thing here. Extent to which Americans experienced various types of time blurring during the first 6 months of the pandemic. And almost 77% said they found themselves focused on the present moment. And then almost 66% said that weekdays and weekends have been the same. 65% said the future is uncertain. 55. Okay. All right. Great. Wonderful. In an August paper for the journal Psychological Trauma, Dr. Holman and co-authors reported on a series of questions they asked a 5,661-person panel. It's a big panel. Such as to what extent they had been focused on the present moment. And we just went through that. The researchers combined the responses to create an index of how acutely someone experienced blurred time. They found that more than half of Americans experienced most of their distortions at least sometime during the pandemic. Now, speak of the Mandela effect, they're basically saying that, like, yeah, everyone had their own sort of Mandela effect in a sense. I mean, maybe not that intense, but in a time dilation where you disorient your time. You know what is often mentioned during alien abductions or people that describe alien abductions is a loss of time. So, yeah, maybe this was one big hijacking. Ian Phillips, a professor of philosophy and psychology at Johns Hopkins University, has looked at some unusual studies to quantify time blurring. In 1962, French spelunker Michael Sifry spent 60 days in a cave without sunlight, clocks, or watches. He would call his research partners on the surface via a landline at meals, before sleeping and upon waking up, so they could track his time without him knowing, sorry. After some time, he would attempt to count to 120, 1 second at a time. It took him 5 minutes, but his experiment concluded after 60 days. He thought only 35 days had passed. In other words, his sense of time completely disintegrated. He repeated the experiment 10 years later, and with a 7-month stretch, and not only lost his sense of time again, but succumbed to severe depression. Or consider a particularly wild experiment from 1961. People were asked to estimate a 5-second interval while on a platform that was either being pushed toward or away from a precipice. Those being hurled toward the edge experienced a 20% slowing in time versus those being pushed away. An important finding of this research is that time blurring is correlated with stress. Yes, and it goes into some more details here. In other words, extreme time blurring might be a warning sign that someone's going through a stressful event. COVID, wildfires, or any sort of grief or disruption of life risks being traumatized by it a long time later and struggling to move on. You know, this reminds me of a Bible verse. What to do? Psychologists have developed time perspective therapies, a type of therapy talk, not medication-based, that seems to help at least some people. Dr. Phillips and Johns Hopkins initially approached the study of time as a philosopher, however, and suggests some simple advice for those losing their sense of time. Now, what do we do? Quote, if you're inclined to report that time is dragging, my life is vanishing, maybe the thing to do is simply try to inject more distinctive or unique experiences into it. Then there's more in your story to tell and it's not slipping through your fingers. More or less, he's saying, go outside. Go do something. Such a, I don't know, it's just a weird thing to be like, yeah, experience time to go outside then. Well, we couldn't because the pandemic. The passage I was reminded of is from Daniel 7, verse 25. And it says, he shall speak words against the Most High and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. Oh, can you believe it? He's going to wear out the saints. I mean, if the woke thing isn't wearing you out, imagine what this is going to be. And shall think to change the times and the law. And they shall be given into his hand for a time, times, and half a time. That's the first beast. The man of sin, presumably the Antichrist. He will come in, he'll think to change time and the laws. You know who's changing time and the laws is that guy from Molossia. Little dictator man from Molossia. Baugh. He's changing times and the law. So again, and he's from a tiny 1-acre micronation. Little horn, anybody? Just a little horn that comes up, takes out 3 of the big horns, and then he takes the big seat. It's all coming together, folks. All right. Yep. Enough rambling about that. Let's see. What else is there? Oh, we're going to talk real quick about the beast system.
Speaking of the beast system. Beast system.
And specifically, I'm realizing now, this is even more specifically tied to transhumanism.
Transhuman, make way for the Homo superior. You shall be as God.
I tried to tell you.
I did try to tell you. Mindmatters.ai headline here. Technology as the new God, before whom all others bow. Whoa. You know, this is a kind of article. It literally sounds, perspective aside, it's the kind of stuff I was writing about and talking about for years. And so, to see it being published and become more mainstream, there's a level of frustration. but I got to remain humble. I didn't do it for my personal glory. It was to glorify God, which that part makes me angry too. I tried to tackle these subjects from the biblical perspective, and that is the perspective that was squashed out. And now the conversation is taking place, but not a lot of believers in the mix in the conversation. And this is the kind of thing that I think resulted in that. So here's what it says. Some of the world's predominant religions, such as Christianity and Islam, suggest ways to live forever. In Christian theology, Christ resurrects from the dead in an imperishable body, promising his disciples eternal life. Within such a religious framework, the material world fails to save us, save in quotes. We need a transcendent other, capital O, who can enter our situation and offer immortality as a gift. But what about the people who reject the transcendent and hold to a fundamentally materialist concept of the universe? Is their religious impulse to seek immortality squelched? Not surprisingly, the opposite appears to be true. The transhumanist movement seeks immortality, unbound from religious concepts. If we merge with machines, we can upload our consciousness and outlast death. We become the authors of our own transcendence. And again, it frustrates me because, the article here, the author is suggesting like, oh, what about those non-believers who don't have a religious background? Is their immortality mission squelched? No, they have, these ideas about merging with machine. Well, the Bible talks about that a little bit with the iron mixing with Myra Clay, and I get it. It's not necessarily talking about the end times, but it kind of sounds like it's talking about the end times and the times we're in now where we're starting to mix with machine. I'm just saying, it's not like there's no biblical precedent for where we are today. And that's what frustrates me is a lot of these mainstream outlets ignore that conversation, that part of the conversation, but maybe it's because it makes way too much sense and way too many people might, wake up and come to Christ if that becomes mainstream. So I don't know, but let's continue. Joe Allen, who writes often on transhumanism, seeks to warn the ordinary reader of its coming onslaught. While it may sound crazy to many of us, a growing number of people really do want humanity to throw off its mortality and live forever via artificial intelligence. He writes in a recent Substack article, many of our credulous elites, from Wall Street to the World Economic Forum, have been ensnared by a techno-religion. Its unfrocked priests are the scientists and futurists who push radical gene therapies, brain-computer interfaces, and various life-logging gadgets. As the technology becomes more and more sophisticated, you can be sure every atheist and his lapsed uncle will fall prey to this cosmic scam. And for those who can't afford it, well, there's only so much room on the lifeboat. And this is from an article titled Synthetic Salvation on Genomics Mind Upload and the Quest for Immortality. Synthetic Salvation! This Synthetic Salvation has been written in my notes so many times. I don't know if I made a specific video titled that, but it's part of my writing and thinking for years. So there you go. With wry insight and dark humor, Allen discusses 3 ways the transhumanists plan to elongate life: bio-longevity, bionic continuity, and digital immortality. Then it goes into some of the details of how this is going to take place. And it's more or less sort of the thoughts of this Joe Allen guy. But let me read for you a little bit more here. The average American. Here we go. Transhumanists pine for the day when we will be able to merge consciousness with the online database. And note that we already somewhat do so through the internet. The average American seems more or less tethered to their iPhone, and it often feels like our online selves, in quotes, are more important than and real than our embodied ones. Allen puts the issue in religious terms, joking, quote, having been baptized in electromagnetic waves, you will become your digital ghost floating forever among the AI angels. Yeah, tongue-in-cheek, but also kind of what we've been saying for a long time, that this is all sort of creating ways for non-corporeal entities, spirits, demons, to affect us in a very tangible way, some kind of host, so to speak. The article continues. I can't prophesy how the transhumanist movement will unfold, but the impulse to escape mortality is perennial, and it isn't going away anytime soon. Some prominent materialists want transhumanism to supplant our religious concepts of immortality, and they appear to be gaining significant traction. The problem is that it won't work. We long for transcendence because we were born for it, and no amount of genetic or digital intervention can replicate human personhood. We are not mere bodies, we are embodied souls. Or as philosopher Roger Scruton, 1944 to 2020, was fond of saying, quote, incarnations. Allen insightfully remarks, as the materialist worldview erodes our spiritual consciousness, we're left with nothing but mortal bodies. When God is dead, technology is exalted as the highest power, holding out the promise of free Wi-Fi and synthetic salvation. Transhumanism can never save us because its proponents don't understand what it means to be human. They believe our longing for immortality can be satisfied by merging with the machine, but don't realize that doing so would compromise our souls, thereby stealing what makes us human. All right, so this is sort of an anti-transhumanism article, and I forget the name of the author here. Let me pull it up real quick. This was written by Peter Biles. I believe Peter Biles, graduated from Wheaton College in Illinois in 2019 and went on to receive a master's in fine arts and creative writing from Seattle Pacific University. He's the author of Hillbilly Hymn and written for a variety of publications. Okay, so he's a believer. He's a believer that's talking about this topic, and he's being featured on mindmatters.ai. Interesting. I wonder if the conversation is allowed to happen now. But again, approaching it from sort of a philosophical standpoint, no scripture really here that, at least sort of an eschatological scripture to tie some things together. Guess that's not allowed. Makes me sad. But there you go. That's the Mind Matters article. But there's a couple other things real quickly here. This is different from what I had. Oh, okay. I just had the wrong order. All right, so this article here from the Los Angeles Times, interestingly enough, has this article titled, Column, I once fell for the fantasy of uploading ourselves. It's a destructive vision. What's going on with all these secular outlets suddenly talking about how transhumanist ideas is not a good idea? It's not going to work or whatever. Interesting. I'll read a little bit here. The fantasy began to consume me at the turn of the millennium. I'd always felt like a half-being, a cyborg of incompatible substances, gringa daughter of a Puerto Rican MD and a long unemployed Mexican man with addiction issues, native or alien, nerd or rebel. I was white and not white, but thought I had to choose. Okay. No wonder then that the greatest ambition of my youth was to achieve digital immortality or upload my mind to the metaverse. Goodbye, flawed body. Hello, God self. This person is the context of this columnist, Gene Guerrero here, is sort of the hyper woke thing. My identity was confused because I'm white. I'm not white. I'm just a half being, but that's why I want to upload my mind into the metaverse and become a God self. Well, at least she came off of it. Okay. That's the part of the thing here. She came off of this concept. The fantasy's premise, which I'd contemplated in years later, was that I was reducible to code, zeros and ones. This view of life and data as interchangeable spread long before social media. It goes into some theory here, some history that I implore you guys to read, because she gets into some stuff that makes sense here. They were early transhumanists talking about the supreme, those who nurtured a cult of technology worshiping immortality seekers. the pseudo-intellectual offspring of eugenicists with their hubristic quest to breed a master race and all of its consequent horrors, from the Holocaust to the forced sterilization of tens of thousands of people, mostly women of color and others labeled defective. Eugenicists thought there was such a thing as a perfect body. Transhumanists went a step further to say perfection lay in select minds, which could transcend bodies altogether. So once again, a Christian, a follower of Christ, tying in eschatological scriptures to this topic and bringing up eugenics as part of the transhumanist conversation, not allowed. But this woke lady, she could talk about how transhumanism is, got the origins of eugenicism and eugenics and all that. Totally fine. Los Angeles Times, big article, big, featured piece. All right, I'm not bitter. In the early 90s, Wired magazine glamorized the extropian cultists as hard-partying psychonaut intellectuals. Slowly, transhumanism grew into a global movement, now trending with some of the world's most powerful people, including the richest, Elon Musk. Its twin cult is long-termism, which says we should prioritize positively impacting humanity in the faraway future, not just in the next few generations, but thousands or millions of generations from today. That philosophy also has Musk's support and that of others, such as Facebook co-founder Dustin Moskovitz and cryptocurrency billionaire Sam Bankman-Fried, a top Biden donor. Hey, there he is, Sam Bankman-Fried, our banker friend that seems to continue to just want to buy up all kinds of distressed companies, crypto companies that were trying to kill the central banks. They're all shut down. And Sam Bankman-Fried somehow just has this endless supply of money to buy up all these other companies. And his name is Sam Bankman Fried. He's Fried Bankman. Ultimately, this isn't about biological humans. The father of long-termism, Nick Bostrom. Of course, everybody mentions Nick Bostrom when they talk about transhumanism. It's one of the first people to come across who talked about it. And I'm not going to even get into some of their arguments because we've covered it over the years. Let's see. Get back to this lady and the reason why she left. I thought I couldn't possibly matter as much as what those men might make out of me. Talking about these people who think that humanity is just ones and zeros. In the early 2000s, I spent hundreds of hours trying to upload my mind to the web. I'd sit at our computer in the evenings, by this time the stylish iMac G3, and type every detail I could recall of the past 24 hours into a log. Sister, you don't need to do that anymore. They got sensors and cameras everywhere. I believed if I captured enough of my thoughts and experiences online, eventually, some kindly engineer long after my death might revive me in the form of an algorithm. I'd be immortal. It was a teen girl's techno-futurist fantasy, a twist of the Snow White fairy tale. I imagined nature as the poisoned fruit. The engineer was my savior, but the real poison was the fantasy. For years, I was reckless with my body. I swallowed dangerous pills and pursued relationships with violent men. There were highs and all of that. Like the transhumanists, I came to believe that humans contain value only insofar as they experience pleasure, high intellect, and other properties as defined by thinkers almost exclusively white and male. Oh, it's always the wokeness. Again, 2022, folks. Can't make this up. Why are you against transhumanism? Is it because, the Lord talked about the end times and how, iron shouldn't mix with clay and that there's sort of an image of the beast, an inanimate object that suddenly demands worship, kind of like how AI or robots would, and then declares that they will kill anybody that doesn't worship it. And then there's the Antichrist and, there's all this stuff. No, it's because all the high intellect and all the people that are pushing transhumanism, exclusively white and male. That's why. I mean, okay. At least there's some monochrome of, I don't want to call it sanity, pushback against the transhumanist movement or ideals. They're not just swallowing a hook, line, sinker. There's still hope. For a time, I suspected I'd inherited something from my father, who abandoned us amid a deluge of his own abnormal thoughts that my mother called schizophrenia. In studying neuroscience at USC, I caught a glimpse of myself in The Divided Self, a psychiatric classic. Oh, you mean like a... Oops. Uh-oh. Loud noise. Sorry. I'm trying to... Oh, why is that making that horrible, horrible noise? All right, my mouse is dying. That's not good. Okay. Yikes. All right. That's not good. Quote, in it, R.D. Laing argues that the root of mental illness lies in mind-body dualism, which splits self from others. Quote, the body is felt as the core of a false self, which is detached, disembodied. Inner true self looks on at a divorce of self from body, deprives the unembodied self from direct participation in any aspect of the life of the world. End quote. I was watching myself as I maneuvered my body toward risk. I wasn't her. I was the mind, or so I thought. That escape from the self in the present is the false premise of long-termism. It was never true. All right, okay. Finally, she comes around. She talks about Descartes' errors. At the very end, I sympathize with the desire to think otherwise. Our minds are inseparable from the meat of us, with its unsolvable mysteries. I sympathize with the desires to think otherwise. That siren song of immortality, which lulled me into reckless risks, and I was lucky to survive. Now it's spreading on a longer scale. Mars and Metaverse are not the future. We must save the one planet that we have. It's the source of our miraculous bodies, which are far greater than any machine. We can't do the Metaverse or Mars. We have to save Earth because it's the source of our miraculous bodies. It's our bodies. Yeah. All right, so there you go. The range when it comes to transhumanism in the mainstream is quite interesting to watch. And one more quick thing here in regards to all this technology stuff is the metaverse.
Welcome to the metaverse.
Forbes.com, why the future of the metaverse may lie in the FCC's hands. The FCC, not a group you want to be hanging out with. I don't want to read this whole thing. Let me go to the original article. Hopefully it's still there. Yeah, there you go. The Federal Communications Commission. They're the ones that may hold the fate of the metaverse in their hands. What does the FCC do? Or what, why does the FCC have to do, or what does it have to do with the metaverse? It may seem odd that the FCC will define key aspects of the metaverse. The FCC does not regulate the content of any virtual programming or set any standards used by programmers, but it does regulate spectrum access. The FCC's technical decisions on wireless access made the modern mobile app economy possible by enabling 5G and ubiquitous Wi-Fi. Its next set of decisions will determine whether the wearables of the metaverse remain devices chained by fiber lines or evolve into smaller mobile devices that allow genuine freedom of movement unhindered by bulky cables. For the virtual experience to work properly, all the wearables that inform the computer generating the imagery and interpreting how your actions interact with the virtual world and vice versa must move gigabits of data virtually instantaneously. What we've been saying. All of this is to create more data and more information about everything. They want to capture, they literally want to have the omnipresence of God. God already sees everything. He sees every detail, every cell, every proton, every particle that exists. God is maintaining it together. But, what these folks want is total surveillance, total domination. And in order to do that, you gotta, surveil all those aspects. And if you think about it, if you're surveilling every molecule in the world, in the universe or whatever, you're kind of doing what God already does, right? Which makes it all the more biblical as things wind down in the story of human history. It does feel like we're kind of on the back nine of mankind, doesn't it? That's good, though. It's a good sign. It means Jesus is coming back soon. So I'm not too worried about it. And I'm not worried about the show because we have fantastic producers, and we'll thank some of those right now.
Break.
It's break time.
This is break. Don't just consume the content, but
become the content. Become the content.
Take a break.
Yes, become the content. We call upon our producers who have been given God-given talents to not just consume the content, but step forward and provide value back by building the culture behind the community here at Canary Cry News Talk. All we ask is that you create something that has to do with the show and for the show. And today I don't think we have any audio production. I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I don't think we have any audio production. So let's get right to the art.
One art, please.
And we start off with Dame Allie of the Skillet Nation.
One art, please. Another one from Allie now. Here it is.
And give me 1 second. I'm behind. I got to do all the admin and all the pressing of the buttons and everything as my mouse is dying. That's not good. Let's see. Oh, yes. And this was accompanied by a haiku. Those of you watching, just it's okay. It's okay. I know what you're seeing on the screen is horrifying. Just telling you, it's okay. Let me just complete the part that goes with what you are seeing. Revenge of Sequiza, a Dame Ebony Blaze haiku. Chris Cillizza's back, if he ever really left, with a new podcast. It's Downside Up, or Bong Thoughts with Chris the Wizard, pondering deeply. What if things were weird and not, as they are? Like you had no taste. Your Ratatouille. He works at the French Laundry. Little West Coast joke. Personally, I fondly recall those haircuts and Grandma's meatballs. And this is a pencil drawing of Chris Shilzilla, as he is known on this show. And it is purposely upside down. It's not because, Dame Allie and Dame Ebony Blaze accidentally uploaded the image upside down. No. This is because Chris Shilzilla's new podcast on CNN is called Downside Up, where everything's backwards, man. Everything's what if everything's totally flipped upside down, man? That's the new podcast. And if you look closely, even if you're upside down, you can zoom into those eyes of Chris Shilzilla and see that they're very lizardly eyes. Although there is some reminiscence of humanity. It's not like a pure lizard split. It's kind of got more of a football shape, kind of a rounded edge. So maybe there's hope for Shilzilla after all. But the rest of it is fantastic. Great job, Dame Allie. Dame Ebony Blaze, great haiku. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Next up. Oh, you like the stoner voice in the chat, huh? I know Basil does the same voice, but it's kind of funny because sometimes Basil just sounds like it, without trying. But yeah, it's always hilarious. And you think it's a joke when people are like, hey man, you guys, there are really people that talk like that. I'm not kidding. They go around, at least here in California. Hey, man, you got some extra change, bro. It's for my family, man. So anyway, sorry. Thank you very much, Dame Alley, Dame Ebony Blaze. Appreciate the artwork and the haiku. Next up, we have Sir Dove, Knight of Respeltia.
One art piece from Dove.
I thought I had this fully downloaded. No, where is it? No, I have it. Where did it go? Uh-oh, it's going to take me a second to get it back here. Oh boy, I'm sorry. This is the kind of thing that I was afraid of because I try to prep the show. I thought Basil was going to be here during the show, so that made it a little bit challenging when I found out he wasn't going to make it, and then so it rushed all the other things. But here we go. We got this piece and a note which says, "Peace. For this week's Bible artwork, I did a piece for Proverbs 9:10. And yes, it's kind of a nice, bright colored greenery with the text, which reads, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding." It's Proverbs 9:10. Hope you guys like it. Keep doing what you're doing. I'll keep praying for you. Yeah, it's wonderfully done. Again, the really bright colors on this one. You see some pink flowers, and the lettering is all in that Dove style, graffiti style, but also it's got yellow with a kind of a gold trim. Very uplifting in a sense. So thank you very much, Sir Dove. This brings color to my day here. Yeah, not in a racial way. I'm talking more about just on my screen here. So appreciate that. Thank you very much, Sir Dove, Knight of Respeltia. And that leads us, I think that's it for the art. Yeah, pretty short break here. If you, again, have been gifted a talent by God, whether it's an artistic talent, whether it's be, drawing, I would like to see more like, I don't know. I don't want to necessarily, if there's someone that knows how to do more like 3D type of art, that would be kind of cool to see. More like computer graphics, because we're just trying to feed the AI how to control us. So might as well give them some biblical stuff. Maybe that holds back the complete takeover. Or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, that would be cool. And also, I don't want to say too much. I might get myself in trouble. All right. So thank you to the artists, musicians, everybody who helps produce the show in this particular way. But there's more, because we have a microfiction.
Microfiction. Microfiction.
And it's by Wrong Smash.
Wrong Smash.
The Rainbow Wizard will be the toughest boss yet, thinks Chris, planning his next D&D campaign. But his plans are derailed when he reaches the Jamba and finds Tracy is setting up her replacement. Those vacant googly eyes taunting him silently. Jamba, the plant robot armed with the machete. You got Chris Shilzilla in there. And Tracy. Yeah, it's supposed to be fun, these microfictions, but at a certain point it just starts describing reality. It's not a fiction anymore. Maybe we should call it micro nonfiction, because that's what this is turning into. Thank you very much, Wrong Smash. Appreciate your contributions. What else do I do here? What's the thing that we normally do? I think we just move back. Yeah, my mouse is dying. It's got to be a little bit of a shorter show today, so let's just head back over. And I want to do some Antarctica.
It's cold, Basil. It's cold. Antarctica, go first. Antarctica.
snowstorm. Antarctica. Ice scientists are penguins.
Antarctica, they're opening the abyss.
So a new discovery. Antarctica.
Penguins. Nothing more than penguins. HotSR.com. Headline. World-class birder. That's right, a birder. To speak at GC Audubon Society about Antarctica. Who? Karen Holiday. A world-class birder who travels the planet chasing exotic and new bird and animal species, will speak at the next meeting at the Audubon Society of Central Arkansas at 7 p.m. Thursday at Westminster Presbyterian Church. Admission is free. All right, somebody find Karen Holiday, tell her about the show, have her listen to the show, you can grab a phone, do an impromptu guerrilla interview, and say, what do you think about the Nephilim penguins? What do you think about the Nazi bases? Maybe not the Nazi. Don't start with the Nazi bases. You don't want to go in too aggressive. Maybe start with just penguins, and then just be like, well, what about the large penguins? And then, a conversation can open up. Holiday's program, which will focus on her visit to the bottom of the world, is entitled The Seventh Continent, An Antarctic Adventure. Holiday, quote, enjoys seeing the birds and meeting bird watchers from the countries and cultures wherever she goes, having already visited 60 countries as a tourist or on guided birding tours. Her recent Antarctica trip was her 7th and final continent. I'm telling you, Karen Holiday, just roll her whole spiel into the Canary verse, and she can just continue saying all the things she says, like, hey, I like seeing birds and bird watchers. And it could completely be true in the metaphorical or allegorical sense when it comes to the Canary verse. Holiday has served as a vice president and president of the Arkansas Audubon Society and is currently the field trip coordinator for the Audubon Society of Central Arkansas. Recently retired, quote, she enjoys going out on spontaneous avian excursions with other like-minded birding buddies. She lives in Little Rock area with her husband. Sounds pretty humble. Holiday and 7 friends and family members journeyed to Chile and Antarctica in February after a 2-year wait due to the pandemic. After complying with multiple COVID testing requirements, I'm surprised it doesn't say vaccines. It just says testing requirements. Plus weather delays, a Bay 146 plane in Punta Arenas, Chile, and a quick 2-hour flight over the Strait of Magellan and Cape Horn to land on King George Island in the South Shetland Islands. She arrived in Antarctica, the, quote, windiest, coldest, and least populated of Earth's 7 continents, end quote. So here's a picture of the lady. Looks like a nice lady. But yeah, this is something that can happen. And we also get a glimpse of, especially if we're in the States, what kind of journey it would be to travel to the bottom of the earth or the outer edge of the earth, depending on what you think the whole shape thing is. But yeah, I thought it was fun. Bird watcher, looking for birds, fellow bird watchers. We're right here, Karen Holiday. We've been doing it for a long time. And we're not going anywhere till Jesus decides to come back and take his own. We got one more real quick Antarctica story. This is from upjobsnews.com. And I'm really hoping that this is translation error, because otherwise it's probably written by a robot. And you know what happens when robots write articles? Just pure absurdity. And the headline: for the first time, the authorities of the scientific system met in Antarctica under the slogan, "Science is Sovereignty." A historic meeting took place and more. Yeah. The authorities of the scientific system met in Antarctica. What are you talking about? In a historic day, the authorities of the complete scientific and technological system met at the Barambio base. Now, again, this could be some kind of translation error or AI error, but it says the authorities of the complete scientific and technological system. The complete system. What is going on? It is the first time that the representative of the completely different S&T organizations meet in the most emblematic states of affairs and the nation that the nation has in Antarctica, with a federal imprint and underneath the slogan, "Science is Sovereignty." The Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation deliberate the route of actions to be carried out in one of the southernmost factors of the planet, the Interinstitutional Council for Science and Technology, CICIT? CICYT. What a horrible acronym. Who do you work for? CICIT or CICIT? CICIT. The principal coordinating physique for the sector, it's a physique, met on the white continent, the place Argentina has been current for 118 years. Quote, Antarctica, above all else, is an area of scientific and technological research. The world considers it a space for preservation and future. We have an enormous responsibility linked to providing knowledge that improves development possibilities. The future of humanity will depend on the reserves that places like Antarctica have. And if we do not preserve it from more knowledge, we will be in difficulty, said the minister, Daniel Filmus. In this line, the holder of the defense portfolio, Jorge Tayana, stated, quote, our gaze is set on the South Atlantic because it is one of the last fishing reservoirs. It is a correct strategic decision, which will involve time and a lot of work. But we know that your care will be increasingly relevant. That's why we're here. Then it goes into who they met. Quote, meeting in Antarctica served as a sign of sovereignty, the presence in a territory in which many nations request their share, maintained Filmus. In that, it is that Antarctica works as a pure laboratory and clearly displays two of the most urgent issues that humanity will face in the coming years: the local weather change and instantly human action. In this line, how does the MinCyt, the MINCYT, search to advertise options in the solely attainable means? By funds! Oh, they're planning to use funds, folks. That's why I don't know who wrote this article. Who's going to pay for this? How are we going to pay for this? With our funds? What? No, not our funds. I just read the highlight and then I'll wrap it up. The organisms underneath the orbit of the Ministry of Defense additionally contribute with scientific actions in the area. Quote, all Antarctic deployment and logistics are the responsibility of the armed forces. On the one hand, we are reactivating the Petrel base, which burned down in 1977 and was never restored. It will be very large, and it is in a favorable place at sea level and with a good landing strip, defined Tayana. And he accomplished, quote, the new laboratories will mean a qualitative leap in our presence. In addition, at the Belgrano 2 base, we are working on an antenna that will capture the signals from the SOCOM satellites, which are very useful for the Argentine economy and productivity. Signals from satellites are very useful, huh? Didn't think that was a thing. Tayana highlights the work carried out by the Naval Hydrology Service, the National Geographic Institute, and the National Meteorological Service, and the Institute of Scientific and Technological Research for Defense. And it goes on and on. Another highlight. You will get pleasure from... I don't know what this means, but it says it in this article. You will get pleasure from this information that I've compiled and distributed to you very a lot. And in it, we'll proceed to carry matters for you folks on a common foundation as a way to proceed to acquire info on matters which might be at the moment well liked, and it is our goal to have the ability to offer you this info. Again, I'm really hoping this is AI or some kind of bad translation, because otherwise, pretty horrific to say they take pleasure from this information. And that they will proceed to carry matters for you folks on a common foundation. All things that are part of the end times, folks. It's all coming together, which means it's all becoming unglued, and it's all both. But there you go. I think we pulled off a show. I don't know how long have I been going. About 2 hours. Okay, that counts as a show for a solo job here. I probably missed some things, but again, we'll try to make up for it on Wednesday. If I haven't missed something, please let us know. Send us an email at canarycryradio@gmail.com, or decide to produce the show. You can go to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
And yeah, that's a great way to do it, to support the show with your treasure. We also have people coming in with their talent, and of course, those coming in with their time. And those are just as important to make this thing function, folks, is just simply supporting us or producing the show with your time. And, of course, there's some tasks and whatnot at hand, but we're very grateful for the team of people that have come behind the show and have helped, again, build the community, build the community behind the, I'm sorry, what was the tagline? I messed up our tagline. Oh my gosh. I completely lost my train of thinking because I was looking for something that I don't know that I can find. Yeah, the culture behind the community at Canary Cry News Talk here. So thank you very much for all of you who do that, especially those who contribute with their time, like the Clippies.
Clipping all those videos. Thanks.
Whew, that came in real hot in my ears. Thank you very, very much to Emsworth, Faye Liverin, and Epsilon. Your work clipping the show is invaluable to us and to the audience. We really, really appreciate it. It means a lot. And again, it's a very helpful. We wouldn't ask them to do it unless we knew the value that it creates. For those of you who, are trying to click around or just anybody who's involved, this kind of resource is really, really helpful. And they could not do it without the timestampers.
Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
Again, it's sort of there's a symbiotic relationship between the Clippies and the timestampers. They both sort of operate on their time, and it's something that requires a lot of focus and attention. And so we are grateful for all of you who contribute there. I'm trying to pull up who did the last episode. Give me one moment as I find it. I think if I remember, it was... Wait. Gotta scroll down. Not getting the name. Where is it? Who are you? That's what I thought. Jackie Yu. I think it was you. Jackie Yu, thank you very much for doing the timestamps for episode number 544. Sorry about that. Sorry about the little delay there. But there you go. Thank you very much. Social media.
The social media consultant.
Thanks so much.
Social media. Follow us.
Dame Miss G of the OV and Deep Rivers, thank you for your ongoing support of doing social media for us, pasting, well, cut and paste, but posting stuff for us And, we're going to really try to pump the social medias coming up soon. That's another way to fight the algos. Oops. Yeah, it is suspicious, but I didn't mean to play that. It's another way to fight the algorithms, to push back against this tyrannical system, but we have to do it somewhat coordinated. You can't just, we can't just be sort of independent micronations. We got to kind of come together if we're going to fight back. And so social media will come out with more ideas and plans there's some messaging going on in the back rooms here with some producers coming in with some brilliant ideas as to how to get some more attention and get some more and not just attention for attention's sake. Really, it's to ultimately to spread the gospel message here. We know this, but sometimes it has to be said. We do talk about news, breaking down the news and deconstructing news. That's our thing here, but it's all based on the foundation of Jesus Christ is Lord. So it will be ultimately to get people to see that point out of all the points we make. So thank you to Dame Miss G of the OV and Deep Rivers. All right, let's do real quick meetups.
Canary Cry Meetup.
Meetups, canarycrymeetups.com. Go there and find out if there is a meetup happening near you. I believe I need to refresh this page because one of the most recent event I actually did move down. The next one on the calendar is October 15th. That is this Saturday, Bald Eagle State Forest. Contact Sir Salmons at dovemerari@gmail.com. Is that right? So contact Sir Salmons and send an email to Dove. I guess they're working together, so it's okay. But you'll see the Salmons there. You'll see Dove there. Oh, this is the one with all the cool IRL items. The Dove will bring the IRL art from Dove. So this is one that you want to go to if you're in the vicinity. Again, go to canarycrymeetups.com and look for that one. October 22nd, a week later, on a Saturday, Ottawa Valley Meetup. And this one's led by Miss G of the OV and Deep Rivers. So if you want to meet her and fellowship with people at the border there, with the Canadian border, definitely go to canarycrymeetups.com, scroll down, look for the Ottawa Valley Meetup, and contact Miss G of the OV and Deep Rivers. Let's see. We also, after that, it goes into November, Maryville, Indiana, Phoenix, Arizona. And then in December, there's the Silver Dollar City, Missouri meetup. So all those will be taking place. And again, we encourage it for fellowshipping with people local to you. And really to the email and the message earlier from the producer who said, they want to make this a non-CC or Canary Cry meetup, which is totally fine. They're not offended or anything like that. My whole thing is that, we dress it up as a Canary Cry meetup and it's sort of under the banner of Canary Cry, but really it is just meeting people locally who might share certain things or certain views about the world. Maybe not everything, and probably not everything, but certainly some of the more interesting things regarding where we are, what's headed down the pike, things of that nature. Excuse me. You want to find somebody that is on your same wavelength there. And that's kind of what we do. But ultimately, yes, these meetings the meetups are meant to be for fellowship. It's meant to be so you contact, make friendships, make people that are near you if something happens, a little network of folks. So definitely go to canarycrymeetups.com, look for a meetup. And if you don't see one listed or you don't see something listed near you, take initiative, choose a location, figure out a date and time, make a flyer and promote it. We'll help do some of that. We got people in-house, so to speak, producers of the show who can help out with that if you need any help. So there you go. canarycrymeetups.com. We will see you there.
This is fun. See you at the meetup.
Yeah, reviews keep rolling in. I think pretty good lineup of reviews. We were supposed to read some of the many who came in before the last episode or during the last episode or up until the last episode, I guess. But I am going to leave it to Basil to do so and to catch up. And so stay tuned for future episodes where we will be doing that. And is that it? I think that might be it. All right, folks. Appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Hope you got something out of it. Again, running solo. Sometimes I start to blabble on and, maybe words that I said don't make sense, but some of it might make sense. So appreciate it. If you're still here, you are a trooper and you are a true canary cry bird. Or I don't know, maybe you're a coal miner who's listening to us slowly fade and then, you take action. But there you go. All right. One thing that we like to do is for you to share the show. We have many different ways you can share the show available to you. We haven't even talked about Dove's street team posters. He's got that going. I think Canary Cry street team is still a thing. Let me double check that. Canary Cry street team. Can't spell.com. Let's see. I'm going to see. Yeah, that's a thing. CanaryCryStreetTeam.com. Go there. There's a bunch of flyers. Oh, let me show everybody so people see it. There's a bunch of stuff that Sir Dove has created. And I think we can update it at this point. But you can print these out. You can plaster it at your local church or your local street corner there, some kind of bulletin, maybe a coffee shop or something like that. Get people curious about what is going on with some of the stuff. They'll find out when they go to canarycry.party. Actually, they might not even understand when they go to canarycry.party, but it's okay. The mystery is what will keep them pursuing what this whole deal is. So yeah, there are resources out there to get the show more in front of more people and get them to kind of check it out. So, and we know that, not everyone's going to like the show. There's going to be people that hate the show. So we understand that it's can't please everybody. But nevertheless, we want to make it available to you, these tools to get the word out. So, and one fun way you can get the show out is by simply changing the dates and times of everything. So if you're trying to get your old man to check out the show, you can just tell him, hey, it's October 2019. Yeah, it says 2020 on your calendar, but really it's 2019. This is pre-pandemic. There is no pandemic. There was no pandemic. We are in pre-pandemic world. And therefore you should listen to podcasts because, you got less to worry about. And maybe you can put out a thing that says, if you don't listen to Canary Cry News Talk, we will fine $2,500 right out of your bank account. And then you'll have to redact that. Sorry, we weren't supposed to publish that publicly, but you say it. And then you tell them how to make a micronation. If you want to make a micronation, you listen to Canary Cry News Talk. They will exemplify what a micronation looks like. And boom, we have the Canary verse, the Canary Cry micronation. Not micro. Did I say microfiction? Getting all confused. We'll read microfiction in the micronation in our tiny micro homes, and we will be crowded, especially if there's more than 30 people living on 1 acre. All right, you could do it like that. By the way, just real quick, because I know I get this question asked a lot. I just want to tackle it real quick. When is Age of Deceit 4 happening? It's going to be a while. I know I keep saying that, but it's because the film has to get done, number one. Number two, I'm not publishing it on YouTube. I'm just not going to. Why? Why do it? Why just put myself out there just to get chopped down again? So I'm actually trying to come up with different ways. And it's not just about, I'm going to be on Rumble or I'm going to be on Odyssey or Rockfin or something like that. I will probably publish there too, but I want to do something different. I want to publish it in a way that can't be censored. And right now, most of these other platforms, they're better than YouTube, obviously, in terms of censorship. However, there's still a lot of centralization taking place. And I would just like to create something that is verifiable, public, and it will remain available to anyone who wants to check it out. But in order to do so, there's just different things I have to learn. I got to do a little learning on the tech end. I might need to get some help with that too, but I want to get creative with how to do it. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a while. It's been something that I've been trying to build for a long time. But make content, make the Age of Deceit 4 thing just different, a different way to experience that whole medium. And yeah, it's been a long time. I know. Okay. Cody in the chat. I know it's been a long time, but things take time. Okay. If you want it done right, take some time. And having a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old running around slows things down quite a bit. But, you know, I always say in the Lord's timing, because ultimately, you know, when the film is done and it's supposed to be out there, it will be out there. I trust the Lord in this. I don't think my forcing it is going to do any good. It's got to come. It's got to be led by the Spirit, you know? So, all right. Sorry. Talking too much. Yeah. Share the show with friends and family. Do all those weird things. Start a micronation. Threaten them by, you know, with money, bank stuff. Or you can just do it the simple way, which is to walk right up to him, grab him by the cage and shake him.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Ask Noah. Let's see. Is there anything going on this week? Wow. The Canary Cry calendar just has a clear runway this week. Well, after yesterday, which was Astronomy Day. Oh, yay. Astronomy Day. Yeah, nothing on the Canary Cry calendar for the week, but the giant pyramid eye is still watching. All right. Those of you who own a Canary Cry calendar know what I'm talking about with October. There you go. Okay. Hopefully Basil will be back Wednesday and he'll be able to do the show. I don't know where he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be in the same location he is in now, which means potential better internet connection. And the other thing is, I think he might be on a blacklist for Elon's Starlink because, you know, out in Black Rock Desert, clearly Starlink wasn't working only for Basil, it was working for everybody else. And then now he's in this situation. Again, no internet. The man cannot get access to the communications system that is supposed to connect us all and make us one giant global brain. So anyway, all right. Thank you very much, everybody. See you guys Wednesday. Have an awesome day. God bless. And remember to think outside the cage.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I've ordered more pills than anyone in the world.
Wives in the cosmos, children in the space lane.
I'm an adult in a spaceship.
Supersonic space plane screamed to life and the vehicle swooped upward. On board, the passengers experienced 3 G's of force from the burst of extreme acceleration and watched the blue sky fade into space.
In the back have been cleared to unstrap.
Oh, yeah.
In the back have been cleared to unstrap.
Yes. Do it, Richard. Do it, Jeff. Do it for humanity.
To all you kids down there, I was once a child with a dream. Now I'm an adult in a spaceship.
He can accomplish it. You can too. Big windows, cool. Rocket ship, cool. Space plane, cool.
Nukes,
cool.
Blowing stuff up,
cool. Space plane, astronaut, rocket ship.
ABS anchor.
We have Bezos. He's a human. Just look at him. Go to the bathroom in bags. He can go to the bathroom. bathroom in the cosmos. It changed everything. Wives in space, children in the cosmos, with your best friend brother. Wives in the cosmos, children in the space lane.
We are headed to space.
Armageddon's on the way.
Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. It might seem scary, so frightening. Get ready for it. Don't push your buttons. Get in your spaceship. It will be over. Get in already. It will be started. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an invasion! Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Now!
When the news of the day gets to feeling like a maze, it's okay, don't be afraid if you don't know what to say. Canary, cry awaits. When your brain's in a haze and a headline days, come on ahead my way, I can help you out the cage. Canary, cry awaits. Canary, cry awaits. Oh, canary, cry awaits. Oh, the world's changing every day, each and every way you turn, there's another thing to learn. Reading in between the lines, thanking Jesus for our lives, and nice to see His glory shining like the sun. Run the race until it's done. Come on, everyone. Canary, cry awaits. Oh, canary, cry awaits. When your brain's in a haze and a headline days, come on ahead my way, I can help you out the cage. Canary, cry away.
Goodbye, everybody. And that's the end. And everyone says, oh, that was fun.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. I'm out of here. Bye.
CanaryCryRadio.com/support